now going to introduce Andrew Hunt, who is the Libertarian candidate for governor. And like I said, I had to get a dictionary out to understand his bio. So I cut all that part. I do want to read you a little bit about it. He is an entrepreneur. He is an author of scientific writings. He is an inventor with more than 50 patents proposed, pending, or issued. He received his Bachelor of Science in Geology from Auburn, his Master's degree in Geology from Colorado School of Mines. He has a PhD in Materials Science and Engineering from the Georgia Institute of Technology. He received the SAIC Award for the best PhD paper at Georgia Tech, which was based upon his doctoral thesis of combustion chemical vapor deposition. Andrew was selected for the National Academy of Engineering's Frontiers of Engineering Symposium and the German-U.S. joint meeting. He has served on the board of the National Academies, on Georgia Tech's External Advisory Board as chairman of the School of Materials Science and Engineering and the College of Engineering, and is a trustee of the Alumni Association. His parents founded the first Montessori school in Georgia. And Dr. Andrew Hunt lives in Atlanta with his wife and their 2 young children, and is proud of his 3 other children who are attending Georgia public universities. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll give a big round of applause for Andrew Hunt.
Good evening, and great to be in front of such a caring group of people. Organizations like this are the people that are the backbone of America and how we can make change. So, how many of you all believe that the Constitution is right along with the Bill of Rights? Can I see a raise of hands of people that really believe that's where our country should be? How many people feel our government is upholding and living by that Constitution and the Bill of Rights? That's why I ran for office, because a lot of us complain about it and we do different things. I always had a calling in my life, sometime or another, to be in office, to do something public, to do something for the greater good. So I want to be a public servant. I want to work for you. You can hire me as your worker this fall. Okay? Now, one of the reasons we want to do this is because we need to restore it. I believe in the free enterprise system. We have a system of crony capitalism right now. We have special interest groups that get special deals through our House and Representative and are signed by our governors. We need an open and transparent government that shows what this is happening, when it happens, and how it happens. We heard the volley just now around the gun bill and way to work it through the system and get it done. But we shouldn't have a system like that. We should have a bill that stands alone and doesn't get riding with a whole bunch of other things that are not proper to it. We need plainly written bills like the Constitution. We need to have it that people can read these things and understand their context. And that's how we need to run the system. We need to have massive change to do that. It'll be a slow process, but we won't start that process until we start electing the right people that care about it into office. So that's what I'm putting myself here for your disposal, okay? I've heard enough and have done enough in my life to know how bad the system is and how bad it works. We heard a great one about the petrodollar and how that works. And the system is really rigged against the everyday person. So let's look at jobs. Jobs is one of the greatest things you can create. Let's not create government jobs. Let's create free enterprise jobs. Right now, to attract jobs in the state of Georgia, they have special funds where they attract large companies to build plants to hire X number of people. Tens of millions of dollars, sometimes over $100 million in incentives. What do our Georgia small businesses get? What do our small towns and cities get? Nothing. No incentive goes to them at all. Government should not pick the winners and losers. Government should have a fair system that's free and open for everyone to succeed, and not with people that know certain people or do special deals or do special contributions and systems in and play the game. So my proposal is we need to get rid of the employment penalty taxes. Okay? There's lots of taxes we need to redo, but I want to focus on one that will win the hearts of not just the Republicans, but also the Democrats. When I came in and ran for office, I didn't want to be a stealer from one party or the other. I wanted to equally steal from both, because everyone's dissatisfied with government. I've talked to lots of Democrats and they're very dissatisfied. So let's create jobs. Everyone wants jobs. Jobs makes for stable families. It makes for people that are taxpayers instead of tax receivers. And that's what we want. People feel good about it. I've talked to a lot of people of different socioeconomic backgrounds here in the state of Georgia, and they agree with the statement that they want a hand up and really prefer not to have the handouts. And that's what we need to do. We need to be caring, compassionate people and give people that right. So jobs is one of the ways. So what you do is right now, if you donate to a charity, what happens? You get a tax credit. That's a good thing to do. If you buy alcohol or cigarettes, you get hit with an extra tax. They call it sin taxes, right? So I guess it's sinful to produce jobs and give people a job, because that's what we have. We have taxes directly related to hiring someone. Not if you're profitable or not if you have sales or not, just giving someone a job, giving them payroll, you get payroll taxes. So there's unemployment taxes, there's FICA, and there's the medical type taxes. 8 or 9% of payroll is hit with these type of taxes. So as governor, I can't get rid of the federal programs, but what I can do is I can reimburse our employers here in Georgia what they pay into the federal system, so that they don't see a penalty tax for providing jobs. Now, I would do that for jobs that are full-time and pay more than $11 an hour. I don't believe in regulating a minimum wage, but I also don't want to create a lot of jobs that's going to need extra social welfare. You pay people too little, then they qualify for these different programs. So I want to have it that we have programs that pay more than $11 an hour full-time employees, and then they would get this refund of the money. I'm not going to say the industries, every industry. I'm not going to say the town or the size of it. Everyone qualifies for the program. Get government out of choosing winners and losers, and let the free enterprise, the free marketplace, determine the best way to go forward and who the winners and losers are. So that's one example. Now let's go on into education. Hand-up program, once again. We have school systems that graduate less than 60%, sometimes even only 50% of their students. That's criminal activity in my mind. Those people running those systems are doing it for their own bureaucratic needs and wants and not for the students. Schools need to be focused on the students and the performance of the students and what the students achieve, and not the system and methods. So by allowing people to have great education, guess what happens? They then can work. They can then be taxpayers. They're giving the hand up. It's the cheapest way. Now, I'm not talking about increasing our school budget or anything. We just need to be more cost effective with what we have. So we do not need any increase in that. Now, we do need to secure the federal funds. I believe in the 10th Amendment. I will be working on invoking that amendment and making it that we have more Georgia-based systems and the federal government taking less of our tax dollars. But in the meantime, they're taking our tax dollars, of course, as the government does, under threat of jailing and confiscation of your personal assets, which is wrong. And then they turn around with this carrot and say, hey, you want these education dollars back? Well, I've got this great program, Common Core, for you. Yeah. We don't need their Common Core. We need a much better program. And that's one of the things the Supreme Court has made a ruling on, and that is that we can come up with our own system, still get our tax dollars back to us, and have a great educational system. So I've been meeting with some of the top people and thinkers in this area, and there's something called an Education Savings Account, ESA, that you can set up. Arizona set it up, and some other states are looking at it, I would implement that system. Basically, it allows school choice without a voucher. Vouchers have been struck down by the courts, okay? So you don't want to go down a path that you're just going to be in a big court battle that you're most likely going to lose. Be wise, be smart, look and plan what works. So we would have it where these monies would come out. An individual, the parent, gets to make the choice, not the school system. Just because you live in a certain neighborhood, you don't have to go to that bad school, okay? You can send them to a charter school. You can send them to a private school. You can do remote learning through the internet where the best teachers in the state of Georgia and out of state have classes that people can learn from. Guess what? Those remote learnings can be done in buildings and institutes that just happen to be open and free Monday through Friday during the normal business hours. Our churches and other places like that. You can have these systems and go to. So you can have the best education for a fraction of the dollar amount. The people then actually, out of these accounts, the money they save compared to the regular public school tuition can be put into tutoring. It can even be rolled up and saved for college. It's a very powerful thing that we need to start working on implementing. And I know some of the people that know the details of this and exactly how we can do it. The Affordable Health Care Act. Who loves that? Well, the affordable. You know, as soon as the federal government says one thing, you know it's kind of the opposite, right? So it's one of these big special interest things, okay? A long time ago, there was no health insurance. People worked directly with their health care providers and paid for the services they need. And then they started to implement this, and now they've made it a law and a regulation that you must have health insurance. Well, that's wrong. There's great options to that. And once again, we can take that money back and have a better system. Colorado has a co-op system. Other states are doing some slightly different systems. I would take our federal dollars back, but I would implement it in programs that are based on the free enterprise system and the open marketplace. There's a doctor that I got to meet that has a program down in Florida. And what he does is he actually has a monthly fee that costs less than insurance. Single person can be like $100, $120 a month, up to about $175 for a family. They can come in as many times as they want to see him. He has printed rates for outside services that he's negotiated special deals with. And those rates are lower than the deductibles on a lot of insurance policies. So you can get great care, emergency care. You can bring in for emergencies and see him and everything for a fraction of the cost. He makes twice as much as if you had used the insurance company, the big healthcare provider overseeing him and everything else. You have all this big system that's been built up by the government. And small entrepreneurial doctors need to be properly compensated. To also decrease the cost of health care in the state and increase the quality, we need to look at how and why, like the state of Minnesota's claim rate for the doctors, the insurance they have, the malpractice they have to pay, and also the healthcare systems have to pay, is 1/3 of that of Georgia. So we have a bit of an issue. Not just here in Georgia, but a lot of other places. Sometimes 50% or more of our elected officials are attorneys. Now, attorneys aren't bad people, but you get one group of person in control of the system, they're going to take care of themselves. They're going to make sure things are written where they come out okay. So we need to watch it, look at it, and if you're going to vote for different people, look and see if they're an attorney or not. Is that their background or not? We need to reduce that number. Maybe it should be 10 or 20, but we need some of them in there. But we certainly don't want to be 40, 50, 60% of the people in office being there. So I'm a small businessman, an engineer and scientist. DC, Deal and Carter are attorneys. So, what do you want? They're both tied into the DC group. Whether you look at one flavor or the other, you have that. We need to break away from that DC ties. We need to have non-career politicians in office. And we need to have people that care about the people. I'll be a public servant. I'll do what's right for the people, we the people. I believe in the Constitution, and the state should abide by it. And we need to return our government to being a smaller government. So there was a time in the federal government and also now in the state where both, either the Democrats or the Republicans, had full control of everything. The governorship, the House, the Senate, the same, the president, the House and the Senate, they had full control of everything. In both cases, government grew. That's not conservative principles. That's not small government. I will bring small government back. I will cut out the inefficiencies so that we can afford this refund of the employment penalty taxes and get jobs going. By rewarding the companies that are here and now and present, they can hire right away. You try and attract in outside companies, it takes years to build the plant and years to get the hires going. We want jobs built quickly. It's going to grow our economy, and then we can go on and look at what other taxes we can cut with that as we further to reduce government and increase its efficiency. Veterans, we need to take care of our veterans. The VA and what's going on there is abysmal. It's one of the worst things that's ever happened. We must take care of this situation. Now, Deal has set up some field offices and everything. What I've heard is nothing happens there. It happens about as well as it does in the VA. We need an effective system. I think we need a private-public partnership to address the VA, make sure the forms are filled in properly, the records are kept right, so they get the right services. If they don't get the services, they try and say this I isn't dotted or that T is not crossed or whatever, and we need to end that argument and make sure that that's done correctly. So then when they fail to provide the services, then we can look at how we do it. I think we need to move to a voucher-like system where the veterans can choose the hospital they want to go to and the Medicare providers they want to and get this back to free enterprise. I can't do that as a governor. That's a federal thing, but I'll inspire other people to do it. But here from the state perspective, I'll work to get it that the little things that they try and thwart to get things, the proper care and the proper recompense and the programs that they're supposed to receive are received. So I've worked hard to do that. It's a big machine that you have to run against, but I would do that. That hits a few of the things. My biggest thing is I like to try and when I look at any situation or problem, I try to put on my freedom and fairness glasses. So what instills greater liberty? What brings the freedom back to the individual and to the companies to operate more freely of regulation and rules? And then what is fair? What is right? What is just? And justice for all, and liberty and justice for all, freedom and fairness. That's how I look at things. I try and put on those glasses and analyze things from that perspective, talk to experts. You won't see me forming committees to review things. I'll go talk to experts directly because I can understand them. I know what they're saying. I've talked to the top traffic expert down in Georgia Tech, a great professor down there. We understand what needs to be done. I know what needs to be done cost effectively and quickly to alleviate the traffic issues around the Atlanta area. And that's what we need to do, cost effective proper things and not major road building projects into special interest recipients for those big programs. How about from a traffic perspective, you could set up a grid of people that would do the light timing sequencing. That's where our big issues are, okay? These companies would be compensated, not the DOT running the system, okay? This is private companies that would come in and run the systems. They'd be compensated on traffic flow. The better traffic flowed in their zone, the more they would get paid. Then, if an area did really well, you could actually expand their territory. So you have a reward of increasing revenues and increasing area with good performance. You have to have kind of a local monopolies, but don't have a whole monopoly over the whole city. Have competing entities that look at the most efficient and effective way of doing something and then reward them for higher performance. So, a few highlights of some of the programs that I believe in, and some of the things I want to do, and I'll take questions, yes?
What can the government do to restore the proper relationship between the state and the federal government as it is documented in the
Well, the number one thing, if you read it closely, is we have to state we have control of these matters. So we would have to pass laws and rules stating that the state of Georgia claims priority over these matters. So that's the number one thing we'd have to do to invoke the 10th. So not until the state claims a right can it supersede the federal government's rules and regulations. So we would need to work on that as a first basis and get those passed through. Now, I'll be initially with, the Democrats and the Republicans in there trying to get those types of, I think there's a lot of conservative people in Georgia, so hopefully there's currently enough to do that. But if not, what I want to have is an open, transparent government. The people that aren't voting for it, that are thwarting it and everything, I want to have a blog, a website, that you see a bill. This is how the bill was initially written. You're being quiet about some of the people. I won't be quiet about the people. Yeah, I understand why, because you need to get more bills and things passed through. So I understand 100% why you're not doing it. That's a smart thing, because you need to work with the current system. I want to change the system. I want to have it that you know which representatives and senators are doing these thwarts, changes, alterations, add-ons as the bill goes through the process. And that way, then people can decide who they want to keep in office or not. So then it would be right there in the open public. Open and transparent. That's how it should be. These backroom deals have to stop. And the only way we can do that is by electing the right people into office.
To piggyback on this question, it was reported in the AJC on Monday that you mentioned the Affordable Health Care Act. They are in the process of currently building clinics for students in public schools. What are your thoughts on health plans?
I think it'll be run about as good as the VA. So, yeah, I mean, any government programs, I think it's going to be, the other thing is, you have to inspire people. So I'm not going to sit underneath the gold dome. I'd be a person that's out there meeting with people in the different areas and trying getting them excited about taking care of people. Great leaders don't sit back and just educate from a remote location. They go out and meet with people, talk with people, and tell them how we can be more caring, the importance of caring for people, and making sure we do a good job. So, and most of the people will respond to that. There's some that won't, okay? And then you'll have some turnover. I believe in cutting back in the government. So, you need to cut back on the people that don't run things right and don't care.
Where do you stand on immigration and specifically the situation we're now facing, people being sent around?
The number one thing we need to do is secure our border. We need a secure border, okay? Now, immigration laws and rules are awful also, okay? So, but that's not a state thing. I think that we shouldn't have what's going on right now. It's ridiculous that we don't have a secure border with Mexico. It would have been easy to do at any time, and I think we heard some of the reasons why it's not happening, and I have to agree with it. So I won't be able to do a lot as a governor of Georgia in that area, but I would look at how we can get it that the systems that we have here and dealing with those people, we don't want to treat them unfairly, but we also don't want to just welcome them, openly into our state either. So we need to work with the system. I don't have a final way of doing that. I wish the border was secure, and then we had immigration laws where we could have people immigrating into our state that we would welcome. Some of the Georgia Tech grads that have come in from overseas, we want them to stay here. I mean, they're future business runners and everything like that. They'd be great for our area. And they can't get in. And they won't just stay illegally.
So as governor, you wouldn't say no, they can't send these people in, you wouldn't stand up and say no?
Well, I think that, the sheriffs can probably do a better job of that than the governor. I guess you could look at, the National Guard? What would you do to, try and keep a bus from crossing, you'd have to know when they're coming and everything else. I'd have to see what I could do. I haven't looked at it in great detail. I think that we need to stop it. I think we need to make sure that what we do is, abiding by the laws and rules, but we need to change some of those immigration rules too. But we need a secure border before we can do that, because it doesn't matter. You can try and export everyone back, and you know what it's going to do? It's going to run you up a big tab, and they're just going to be back again until you secure the border. We got to stop that border flow. Once we stop the border flow, then we can do rational things. But until then, anything you do is irrational, because you try and keep them out, guess what? They just come back again. It's a terrible, terrible situation that the government's running right now.
I think the whole idea of our question is, are our elected officials going to stand up for us in the face of illegal activities by the federal government, or the federal government's failure, conscious failure to enforce the laws, which is what's going on now.
Yeah.
And if our elected officials, including the governor, the sheriff, the county people, the city people, would stand up and say, no, we don't want those illegal people forcibly entered into our community, then I think we'd have some respect for our leaders. But until we get that, I think we're kind of on our own, and we have to get signs and go out and stand up on the buses.
Yeah, and I inspire that. I mean, that should definitely be done. And I'd have to look, I haven't looked into the detail of what I could do as governor yet. So I've looked into some of these other matters. I'm going to have to say I do not know the proper answer. I do not believe it should be happening. And with the power that I could stand up for it, I would, because we need to secure that border. That's the ultimate thing. I mean, and I guess if there's enough states keeping these people from being allowed to be transported in, then maybe they'll go back to the root problem and stop it there. It's an insidious thing that's going on right now. It's just awful. It shouldn't be allowed. So now that's where I kind of differ from some libertarians. I'm what I call a conservative, practical libertarian. So there's some libertarians that say you should have open borders. Okay, I differ in this one area. Okay, so I believe in free enterprise, and a lot of things that a lot of libertarians do. I believe in more freedom and fairness. Okay, so less ruling on how we live our lives. But I'm going to be the most conservative person physically that you could possibly get into office. You will see a great transformation in government the way you'd like to see it done.
Speaking to the libertarian angle, I'm interested to know what you're doing to block the media blackout, get into the debates, and I'd like for you to speak towards the fact that there would be a runoff, you're not stealing votes from one side or the other.
Yeah. Well, let's go into that, because actually there's a poll coming out tonight, okay, showing that Carter is now ahead of Deal by 8% because of the recent ethics stuff. Okay? If I'm not here at all, say there's only those two, I think you have Carter in office. Okay? So that's something that Joe McCutcheon, who I don't know if you know him out of LJ, but he's a big-time guy that does a lot of stuff, and he's endorsed me, as well as Derek Grayson and some other people, long-term, caring Republicans that say we're going to be in trouble unless we get Andrew Hunt in office. And that's what he's exactly told me, and that's what it's supposed to say. So, but as far as getting into the media, I've actually gotten more media than the normal libertarian has, and they actually already said that. Some of the people in the party said, well, you've gotten as much as they get sometimes in the whole campaign, so that's good. And I'm going to continue to push that point. So I've had a number of different TV interviews, I've been on some radio interviews, and we need to continue that. I've been in the print a few times, but now some of the channels are starting to put me in there, and they're putting me in there, including me in the polls now, because they understand it's critical to do a proper poll analysis, because I'm anywhere, depending on the poll and how they run it, is from 3% to 9%. And both of these guys are in the 40s. Well, that means we're going to a runoff, because we're a runoff state. The top two vote getters go on for a runoff. So November 4th is the general election, and the runoff, I think, is December 2nd or something like that. And so there's a few weeks in between to go back. Now, you need to vote who you believe is going to be the best person and not fearful that you might be getting this person in or that person in. Because if you do that game, you're only going to get one of those two people and not who maybe you really want to get in office. I am reaching out as much to Democrats as I am to Republicans. So you see me here in a more of a traditional Republican forum. On July 5th, I was at the East Point fireworks display, meeting and greeting people, handing out about 1,000 cards, and out there with a couple of great African American volunteers with me. And we really impacted the crowd. There was a great reception for our message. They want great schools. They want hands up, not hands outs. Most of them. There's a few people that want the handouts, okay? So I'm not going to say all of them are that way. But a majority of them just want a good job. They just want a good education. They just want a regular life. And if we give that to them, we've made great taxpayers and a great society. And so I'm being very open and honest with you, exactly what I tell them. And I tell you, it's the best thing for you as taxpayers to do. It's the cheapest way out of this situation that we're in. We have to end the cycle. Be one Georgia and one people. And we can be a great state. We have so many great, our location, logistics, size, and water resources, and great people. 10 million people here in the state of Georgia. We can accomplish a lot under the right leadership. And really seeing these great assets of the people fully endowed and fully capable of going forward.
Are you involved in social media? Because today everybody's involved with Facebook and Twitter and all these things. That's how people learn about things that are going on. Several candidates in the past have been very successful using those as tools of getting the message out very often, daily, weekly.
Yeah. Facebook, I'm very involved in Facebook. Okay, so Twitter, not so much. I need to do a little better on it. And I don't even have Instagram, but I have Reddit. I have a Reddit thing there set up at least. I have a YouTube channel just got up. And actually, if you want to see me interacting with 3 urban African American guys for 1 hour on a cable TV show that they host, they applauded me at the end. They took all my campaign materials and likened me to JFK, which is about the greatest compliment they can do. You can watch that. I think it's June 21st, my Facebook post. There's a link to it, okay? So that would be a show that would be different from any other TV show you could ever watch in your life.
I'm originally from Gainesville, but I moved to Atlanta in '91, and I moved back up to North Georgia recently. I've seen the demographics in the state change drastically. Colorado demographics have changed, and it's already impacting the state and the conservative history in that state. What would you do as a governor, and how do you see that unfolding here in our state?
Well, I think we need to pretty soon show them that smaller government, greater liberty, and fair and open systems work, or we're going to be in trouble. We need to move on this soon before the liberal agenda gets too far out of control. We can reach and do this, and then people are going to see that this is the system that other states will want to emulate. So we really need to work on this soon. I'm worried that if this goes on for another 10 or 20 years, it's going to be, we won't have control over it. It'll be gone.
One more question.
He mentioned Colorado. Where do you stand on drug use and homosexual marriage?
Tough questions for a libertarian. So, okay, this is where I differ once again some from the traditional libertarians. In particular, I have 2 relatives close to me that were damaged by drugs, okay? I want to see a reduction in drug usage. But at the same time, I don't want to break up families, and I want to get people reformed and not imprisoned. So we need to have systems that will effectively reduce drug usage, but at the same time not incarcerating people so much. So the way to do that, the only thing I'm going to look at over the first 4-year term in this whole area is going to be a medical marijuana bill. We have people that are suffering from cancer. We have children that have cases where this is the best drug. It's It's from nature, it's low cost, and it doesn't feed into the FDA rules and regulations and crony capitalism. So it's a free thing. But at the same point, I want to inspire low drug usage. I want people, the best, God created this beautiful world, and if you're on drugs, you're not understanding the world He created. So we need to work on that, and I'll look at that, and I'll be talking about that during my term if there's other things that we can do. So I believe Texas has done a great thing in prison reform. I mean, they've actually shut down 3 prisons. They've saved a lot of money on their things, and they've actually had reducing their crime rates at the same time. But that's because they're making reform centers instead of jails and prisons where they just hold people down. They look at transition of them into jobs afterwards, and that's how I'd want to run the system here. So I think we can do it. I think we can inspire better behavior out of people with the right leadership. But they have to understand that we care, and we're not just trying to step on them. Anytime you're stepping on anyone, you know how you feel about that. You feel about that, they feel about that. So you have to respect them, care, and have systems that work to reform.